York, and today we're here at Aikman Wildlife and Adventure, and today my mom is going to be the camera woman. Shout out to Miss Adams, my teacher.
All right, Miss Adams.
Here's the founder, James Akiman, right here. And so I have a few questions.
Sure.
Why would you prefer 3D printing than regular like sculptures?
Sure, so that's a great question. So like this is a hand sculpted one. Hand sculpted, the thought was always you can get more detail doing hand sculpted because 3D printing was kind of lagging behind. But now technology has caught up enough to where you can get very, very detailed on 3D printing. And so the issue was fur. So our big dinosaur there, it's easier to 3D print scales of a reptile or a fish or something like that. Fur is a little more difficult to make it look real, to make it not look like just a hunk of plastic, basically. So that's what took us the longest in trying to find somebody that could 3D print fur to make it that looked like real. We finally found a guy who did 3D printing. He did people's pets. Some people wanted recreations of their pets, I guess, to remember them. And like I remember the first time I saw some of the images on Instagram, I had to do a double take because they looked very real. And so we knew that, hey, if he was on board with doing bigger prehistoric pieces, this could work out. And thankfully, he had a background in that. He hadn't really done a whole lot, but he was definitely up for doing it. So we did a test piece with our giant hyena, and that turned out great. And so from there, we kind of just started experimenting with other pieces. He sculpts them on the computer, sends us pictures of that sculpt on the computer, send the measurements so we can make sure it's the size that it needs to be scientifically accurate. And then from there, he can actually turn the head or raise the arm up, or he can pose it. And then once we sign off on the position, then he prints off a smaller test piece. And from there, he paints it how we want to paint it till we sign off on the color. And then once that's done, he'll print off the life-size one. So then he can paint it exactly how that little one was done.
Would you say that 3D printing is more fragile or actual sculptures are?
So I thought they were both kind of equal. So this is like a heavy-duty type of epoxy or clay. Like I describe it as a heavy-duty kind of Play-Doh. So it's a lot more involved than Play-Doh, but you can sculpt it, you can make lines, but then once it hardens, it's rock hard. So like you can flick the tail. The tail's not going to break to pieces, but you could, with enough force, probably rip the tail off. It would break just kind of like a ceramic plate almost. The 3D printing, I thought it was kind of like plastic almost, but it's a lot thicker than that. So it's pretty stout. And then with our models, they actually do a steel frame inside. It's almost like a simple skeleton, more or less. And so that runs down each of the feet. And so those steel posts are welded to the plates that get screwed to the ground. So that makes them very sturdy. So pretty much any piece in here we could ride on if we wanted to. Now, like with the saber-toothed tiger there, if somebody really, really wanted to, they could probably grab hold of those teeth. And if they were strong enough, they could maybe break the teeth off. But like you could punch the teeth and it's not going to break. So it is a lot more durable than what I thought it was going to be. So we're happy with that because we wanted it to be hands-on and interactive.
Do you think like art is a very important key role, like to make them look like they come to life, or even things outside the exhibit?
Yes, so like with our walkthrough, for example, we have done it differently than what we were originally planning on doing. Originally, it was going to be kind of straight lines, geometric shapes, and we talked to somebody who has designed other places, and he said you want curves and you want meandering, kind of like a river flowing through. You want bins to where there's something blocking the view so you don't know what's going to be around the bin. So you kind of build a sense of anticipation or a sense of excitement from people not knowing what's going to be around the bin.
Do you think these sculptures or 3D printings of these creatures can spark imagination in some kids or?
Yes, absolutely. So like our motto with the museum is don't settle for bones behind barriers. So you go to museums, most of the time you just see skeletons and they're behind some kind of barricade or rope. You can't touch the skeleton, you can't interact, and you just see the skeleton. Most of the time, if people just saw the skeleton without knowing what's actually the animal looks like, what gets in people's heads can be completely off. So they've done different examples of that where they give skeletons to different professors or even students and have them draw what the animal looked like based on those skeletons. And if it's a prehistoric animal, they usually get almost as many different drawings as they had people do the drawing. So everything can be interpreted a little bit differently, and so we really wanted it to be fully fleshed out so people could kind of appreciate what God created as opposed to having to wonder what did this look like. And most kids, when they see the big skeletons, they see the size, but they're not processing what that looked like. They're not thinking that that's an animal that used to live, because right now when you look out there, you don't see skeletons running around, you see fully fleshed out pieces. So this was what we wanted to do to help people see what an animal looked like. So with this, we really wanted to simulate looking through a glass window like zoos have to see bears or to see big cats, but to look out and see a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That's a real background, right?
Correct.
And then the Tyrannosaurus Rex is CGI.
Yes. Yep. So this T-Rex was created. The movements was all done, and then he basically overlaid that onto a real, actual recording of the landscape. Easier to do a CGI background as well, but we wanted it to look as real as possible. So this was our first attempt at CGI, so we definitely learned some things from it that we can do differently next time to make it seem even more realistic.
Are these real bones?
So they are replicas, they're molds from real skulls. So it's not the real bone material, it is more of a resin-based type of material. It's a lot stronger than what real bones are. So they are basically exact copies of real bones. So this is kind of what we started with before we even did the museum. This was our prehistoric versus present that we did over in the Learning Center, just to kind of gauge people's reaction to prehistoric creatures. And so like that's an African or an American lion compared to the African lion of today, and like a tiger skull from today compared to the saber tooth. And then like this one is one that shocks people a lot. This is a prehistoric beaver compared to today's beaver.
Wow. Very shocking. So you a lot of comparison.
Yep.
And you said they were molds, so you painted them.
So they came painted. Yep. So they, like with the prehistoric skulls, we could have chosen the white or the tar finish, and we chose the tar pit finish just to help differentiate even more between prehistoric versus present. And people mentally seeing that tar pit finish automatically makes them think prehistoric animal and old. Yep.
And I think that's a very good idea with the art, especially because you really put in those key features that make it look like it's very prehistoric and
Right.
great talking, great asking questions.
Sure.
Thanks
No
for
worries.
answering.
We're happy to have
thanks.
you. Welcome back to the park, and
Thanks.
love to have you anytime.
Yeah, I like being here. I like animals and art. Art is it's a very key role, especially in their prehistoric.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely.
So thanks for having us.
All right. Not a problem. Thank you.
See you later.